When you hear the word Istighfar, you might immediately think of saying Astaghfirullah over and over again, like it's some kind of automatic formula for wiping out sins or unlocking blessings. But Istighfar is far more than the repetition of a phrase. It is not just about lips moving. It is about a heart returning, a soul realigning, a being weighed down by the distractions and wounds of this world turning back in humility and hope toward its creator. True Istighfar is spiritual alignment. It is about recalibrating yourself with the divine truth that we are created to fall, but more importantly we are created to rise again through the door of mercy. And that door wide open, never locked, is Istighfar. When you seek forgiveness, you are doing something far greater than asking to be pardoned. You are positioning yourself under the shower of divine mercy. And it doesn't matter who you are, how badly you've messed up, or how long you've been distant. The moment your heart whispers, Ya Rab, forgive me, that is the moment you are seen. That is the moment you are valued. That is the moment your soul begins to align itself once again with its purpose. Think of it like this. Life is full of noise, full of movement, full of mistakes. Every day you get pulled a little in the wrong direction. Maybe by choices, maybe by people, maybe just by the busyness of life. You don't even realize sometimes that you're drifting further and further from that clarity you once had, that peace you used to feel. And then something happens. Maybe it's a hardship, maybe it's a failure, or maybe it's just that gnawing feeling in your chest that says this isn't who I'm supposed to be. That's the moment you're being called, not to be perfect, not to be righteous overnight, but to return. Istighfar is that return. It is the beginning of the journey back to clarity, the beginning of the journey back to Allah. You see, what makes Istighfar so powerful is not the length of the prayer or the eloquence of the words. What makes it powerful is your awareness of who you are and who He is. You are not perfect. He is. You are weak. He is the source of strength. You forget. He remembers. You fall. He lifts. And in this relationship between human fragility and divine mercy, there is something sacred, something transformative. Now understand this, the strength of Istighfar is in the sincerity behind it. It is not about the number of times you say it. It's about the heart that's saying it. One sincere plea for forgiveness can move the heavens in your favor more than 1,000 empty utterances. Because Allah is not counting your words. He's weighing your intention. When you make Istighfar with presence, with your heart and your mind and your soul engaged, it becomes a moment of intimacy between you and the Most Merciful. It's like sitting in stillness, holding your wounds out to the one who can heal them, not hiding, not pretending, just saying, here I am, broken and in need of you. That kind of Istighfar, that deeply conscious seeking of forgiveness, is transformative. It purifies, it awakens, it empowers, it reminds you that no matter how far you've drifted, you are still wanted, you are still loved, you are still worthy of mercy. In fact, what Istighfar does is unlock the deeper layers of your faith. It is the key to presence in prayer, the key to humility in success, the key to resilience in difficulty. Why? Because when you make a habit of turning back to Allah, you become rooted, you become anchored. You don't get swept away by the highs or shattered by the lows. You are grounded in the knowledge that you are always just one sincere Astaghfirullah away from divine mercy. And there's something incredibly freeing about that. To know that you don't need to be flawless, that you don't need to carry the burden of your past forever, that every single day you get a fresh start, not by the permission of this world, but by the mercy of the one who created it. Istighfar is not weakness, it is strength, because it takes courage to admit you were wrong. It takes humility to accept your limitations, and it takes faith to believe that despite your failures, you can still be forgiven, still be loved, still be guided, and more than that, you can still be elevated. This is why some of the greatest people to ever walk this earth, people who were already deeply close to their Creator, made Istighfar regularly, not because they feared hell, but because they craved closeness, because they understood that the human soul needs constant realignment, that the heart, no matter how sincere, gets dust on it, and that dust is wiped away with the cloth of sincere repentance. Istighfar is also the way you soften your heart again when it begins to harden. It is the way you return to gratitude after being consumed by complaints. It is the way you reconnect with Allah when your faith feels distant. And it is the way you renew your commitment every single day to being a better version of yourself, not for people but for Him. So the next time you say Astaghfirullah, don't rush it. Don't say it like it's a password or a checklist. Say it like it's a cry. Say it like it's a conversation. Say it like it's the return of a soul to the one who always waited patiently. And know this: no sincere istighfar ever goes unheard. No tear shed in repentance is ever wasted. And no heart that returns to Allah remains the same. It will hurt at first, admitting your flaws, facing your shadow, sitting in the silence of your own mistakes. But on the other side of that pain is a light so radiant it can change your life. That's what happens when you align your heart with the Most Merciful. That's what happens when you make istighfar not just a word but a way of being. Consistency in istighfar is a transformative force. It's not about grand gestures of repentance once in a blue moon. It's about making seeking forgiveness a part of your spiritual routine, like breathing, like waking up and brushing your teeth, like checking in with yourself at the end of every day. When istighfar becomes a natural daily habit, it begins to carve a path within your soul, one that leads straight to the mercy of Allah. And when you keep walking that path over and over again, something extraordinary happens. Allah starts sending you miracles. Let's be clear, miracles aren't always lightning from the sky or oceans parting. Sometimes miracles are subtle. You wake up one morning and realize that the anxiety you've been carrying has eased. You bump into someone who gives you the exact advice you didn't even know you needed. You get an unexpected job offer, or you suddenly find clarity in a situation that had you lost for months. These are not coincidences. These are divine nudges. These are signs that your consistency in istighfar has reached the heavens and returned to you in ways you never imagined. But let's go deeper. Why does consistency matter? Because it shows sincerity. You see, anyone can say Astaghfirullah once in a moment of guilt or panic, but to keep saying it every day, in moments of peace as well as in hardship, that shows you're serious. It shows that you're not using istighfar as an escape route, but as a lifeline, as a connection, as a relationship, and the one you're turning to. Allah never turns away the one who keeps coming back. Consistency is what makes istighfar powerful. Think about rain. A flood may come and go quickly, leaving chaos in its wake, but a gentle steady rain nourishes the earth, causes roots to grow, brings life to barren ground. That's what consistent istighfar does to your heart and your life. It nourishes, it roots, it revives, and it does so without fanfare, without anyone even noticing, sometimes not even you. But then you look back after weeks or months, and you realize something has changed. You're stronger, calmer, more focused, more at peace, and you didn't force it. You didn't hustle for it. You just kept saying Astaghfirullah with your heart engaged, and the transformation happened organically. Now some people say, I've been doing istighfar but I don't see any miracles. But the question is, are you doing it with presence? Are you doing it with trust? Are you consistent in your actions while you're consistent in your words? Because real istighfar isn't passive. It's not about reciting the phrase 100 times and going back to living the same way. Real istighfar changes you. It makes you more conscious of your behavior. It pulls you away from gossip. It helps you catch yourself before you lie. It encourages you to forgive others, because you yourself are seeking forgiveness. And when your actions align with your words, when your life starts to reflect the spirit of istighfar, that's when the doors begin to open. You'll be protected from harm without even knowing it. The hardship that was meant to break you will pass by you like wind. The opportunity that was about to slip away will somehow come back around. This is not fantasy. This is the promise of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever clings to istighfar, Allah will make for him a way out from every distress and a provision from every direction. But clinging means commitment. It means holding on to it like it's the one thing you can't afford to let go of. And here's another truth. Consistency in Istighfar doesn't just attract miracles, it creates stability. Life will always throw things at you. There will be days when you feel overwhelmed, days when you feel like you're failing at everything. But if you've built the habit of turning to Allah through Istighfar, you'll always have a refuge. You'll always have a source of strength. That phrase Astaghfirullah becomes more than words. It becomes a pause, a breath, a reminder that you are not alone, that you are still connected, that mercy is still available. Over time, consistent Istighfar also softens your heart. You become more compassionate, more patient, more grateful. You start noticing the small blessings: sunlight through the window, the comfort of a warm drink, the laughter of a child. Your lens shifts from scarcity to abundance, and that shift alone is a miracle. Because when you see life through the eyes of someone who believes they are being forgiven and cared for by Allah, everything feels lighter. Challenges feel more manageable, setbacks feel temporary, and hope feels real. And perhaps one of the most beautiful outcomes of consistent Istighfar is that it builds your self-worth, not in arrogance, but in dignity. Because when you're regularly seeking forgiveness from Allah, you stop relying so heavily on the approval of others. You stop measuring your worth by how much you've achieved or how others perceive you. Instead, you start defining yourself by your relationship with your Creator. And that kind of confidence is unshakable. So if you're going through something right now, a storm, a loss, confusion about your future, start with Istighfar. Not once, not twice. Make it a daily practice. Whisper it when you're driving. Repeat it when you're alone in your room. Say it with your eyes full of tears or with a calm heart. It doesn't matter. Just say it. Keep saying it. Make it part of your rhythm. Because while you're doing that, unseen things are shifting. Plans are being written, hearts are being moved, paths are being cleared. You might not see the miracle today, or even tomorrow, but it will come, not because you deserve it by your own effort, but because Allah promises His mercy to the one who seeks it consistently. And when your life begins to align with that mercy, when your days are wrapped in the softness of Istighfar, you won't need anyone to tell you the miracles are happening. You'll feel them. Deep in your soul, you'll know something sacred is unfolding. And it all began with you, showing up every day and saying with sincerity, Astaghfirullah. When a person is genuinely attracted to you, there is often a deep emotional investment they cannot easily conceal. It's not just about how much they smile when they see you, or how frequently they try to make contact. It's about the subtle but powerful ways they respond emotionally to your presence, your words, and even your silence. Emotional investment reveals itself in ways that can't be faked for long, because our hearts naturally attach to what we truly value. And in the context of attraction, that emotional attachment becomes more visible the more time passes. Think about it. When someone cares deeply, even your smallest actions matter to them. A delayed reply, a missed call, a subtle change in your tone, they'll notice it. Not because they're insecure or obsessive, but because they're emotionally tuned into you. They're paying attention. They're reading between the lines. When you're sad, they feel the weight of it. When you're happy, it brings them joy. This is a sure sign that their heart is engaged beyond casual interest. It reflects a connection that is emotional, not just superficial. You might find that when you share something personal, their reaction isn't just surface-level curiosity. They reflect on what you said. They ask questions that show depth. They bring it up later because it stayed on their mind. This is emotional investment at work. It's the person saying, "What matters to you matters to me." And this is the kind of response that no one can fake consistently. It comes from genuine care. Another way emotional investment reveals itself is through concern, real compassionate concern. If you're going through something difficult, someone who is emotionally invested won't just ask, "Are you okay?" and move on. They'll follow up. They'll offer support. They'll be there sometimes even when you don't ask them to be. It's in the little gestures, a message out of the blue saying they're thinking about you, a small act of kindness when you need it most, or a willingness to sacrifice their time and energy just to make your day easier. This kind of behavior is not transactional. It's not about getting something in return. It's about showing you that your well-being has become part of their emotional landscape.
There is also a form of vulnerability that emerges when someone is emotionally invested. They open up more than usual. They let you into the parts of themselves that are usually guarded. Maybe they talk about their fears, their past wounds, their dreams for the future, and they do so not for attention, but because they trust you. Emotional investment creates that space where two people can be raw and real without the fear of judgment. If you notice someone letting down their walls around you, that's not just a sign of attraction, it's a sign of deepening emotional presence. And let's not forget about emotional reactions. When a person is emotionally invested in you, their emotions can become entangled with yours. If you withdraw, they might feel hurt, even if they don't show it directly. If you praise them, it uplifts them in a meaningful way. If you're distant, they may start questioning what changed. Again, this isn't a sign of weakness or possessiveness, it's a reflection of how much their heart has connected to you. They're not indifferent. They feel things more deeply where you are concerned. Even jealousy, when it's healthy and not possessive or toxic, can be a subtle indication of emotional investment. If they seem affected by how you speak about someone else, if they notice when someone else is giving you attention and they grow quiet or more reflective, that's a sign. Not necessarily a negative one either. It shows that they care enough to feel vulnerable. It means they value your attention and your connection more than they may be willing to say aloud. It's also important to recognize that emotional investment often leads to prioritization. Someone who is truly invested in you emotionally will start to prioritize you, not out of obligation, but out of desire. You'll notice that they make time for you even when they're busy. They remember your preferences, your schedule, and the small things that make your life easier. They might change their plans just to see you, or they'll include you in their future plans without hesitation. Why? Because you're not just someone they're passing time with, you're someone they're emotionally anchored to. One of the most telling signs is how they handle conflict or misunderstandings with you. Do they shut down, or do they lean in? A person who is emotionally invested won't walk away at the first sign of difficulty. They'll want to understand what went wrong. They'll be willing to apologize, to listen, to grow. Emotional investment doesn't shy away from hard conversations, it invites them, because the connection is worth preserving. And of course, emotional investment often leads to growth. A person who is genuinely attracted to you will want to be better for you, not because you ask them to change, but because their affection for you inspires them to rise. They might start reflecting on their habits, their communication style, or even their goals, because they see you as someone they want to build a future with, not just flirt with temporarily. The beautiful thing about emotional investment is that it has an energy of sincerity. It's not loud, it's not manipulative, it's not even always articulate, but you feel it. You sense it in the way they look at you, in the pauses between words, in the way they show up for you when it really matters. Emotional investment isn't something you have to guess at for long. Over time it makes itself known. It shows in the consistency of care, in the depth of presence, and in the courage to be emotionally vulnerable. So if you're wondering whether someone is truly attracted to you, look for the emotional threads. Are they woven tightly? Do they show up with care? Do they share their world with you, not because they have to, but because they want to? That's how you know. Emotional investment isn't a maybe, it's a language of its own, and once it starts speaking, you'll never mistake it for anything else. When someone is truly attracted to you, one of the clearest signs, though often the least spoken about, is their long-term vision that includes you in it. It's not always about bold declarations or dramatic gestures. Sometimes it's in the subtle ways they weave you into their thoughts, plans and possibilities. Attraction, when genuine and mature, does not remain fixed in the present moment. It stretches forward. It begins to imagine a future, and in that imagined future, your presence isn't optional, it's essential. People who are truly attracted to you don't just talk about you in isolation, they begin to use language that binds your stories together. We should try that sometime. That's a place I'd love for us to visit. If I ever settle down, I'd want someone like you around. These aren't just offhand remarks, these are indicators of emotional alignment with future possibility. Whether consciously or unconsciously, they're drawing a map of tomorrow, and they're putting you on it. That vision might show up in the way they plan their time, For instance, if they're thinking about a career move, they might factor in how that change would affect the dynamic between you two. Not because they're overly dependent, but because your connection matters to them enough to influence their decision making. That level of inclusion is powerful. It's not about giving up independence, but about valuing partnership. A person who is attracted to you on a deep level won't just think in I, they'll start to think in we. And this kind of vision doesn't just come from fleeting emotions, it comes from genuine investment. When someone sees potential in you, not just as a romantic interest, but as a partner, as a teammate in life, they begin to orient their steps in a direction that keeps you in view. It's not that they're chasing you blindly, it's that they recognize something rare and valuable, and they don't want to treat it like a temporary stop. This person is thinking about sustainability, about growth, about what it means to build, not just consume moments. You might also notice that their long-term vision includes questions about your goals and your values. That's a huge sign, because when someone cares only about the present, they stay on the surface, talking about how you make them feel now, how much they enjoy your company today. But when someone starts digging deeper, asking what you want in 5 years, what kind of family you envision, what your dreams are, they're not just getting to know you, they're trying to see if your future lines up with theirs. And here's the thing, these conversations don't always happen in candlelit dinners or romantic road trips. Sometimes they happen in casual talks over coffee, or during long walks, or while waiting in line. But when they happen consistently, with sincerity, you should take note. Because attraction that lasts is built on shared vision, and shared vision requires understanding, curiosity, and alignment. It's also worth noting that someone with a long-term vision for you doesn't just idealize you. They don't need you to be perfect. In fact, they often see your imperfections more clearly, but they choose you anyway. That's critical, because it means they're not building a fantasy, they're building something real. They see your strengths and your flaws, and they still want to see how both can fit into their life's puzzle. That kind of choice speaks volumes. That's what mature attraction looks like. Another clear marker is how they handle challenges with you. Do they run at the first sign of discomfort, or do they stay and work through it? Someone who sees you in their future won't be scared of conflict. They'll see it as a natural part of growth. They'll want to learn how to communicate better with you, how to meet your needs while expressing theirs. This is key, because when someone has a future with you in mind, they begin to refine themselves for the sake of that future. And in that refinement, there's usually a quiet kind of hope. You'll hear it in how they talk about life. Maybe they'll say, I've always wanted to raise kids a certain way, or I really want to build something meaningful before I hit 40, or traveling with someone I care about is on my bucket list. And when they look at you while they say these things, or when they nudge you into those dreams, it's not just small talk. They're testing the waters. They're seeing if you'll step into the picture they're painting, and it doesn't stop at dreams. Someone who truly sees a future with you will also want to know your limits, your non-negotiables. Why? Because they're thinking ahead. They're not just trying to win you today. They're thinking about what it takes to keep walking with you long term. They'll ask about what triggers you, what makes you feel safe, how you define loyalty or intimacy. That's not interrogation, it's alignment. It's someone saying, I want to walk beside you, and I want to do it right. There's also this natural tendency to protect what they value. If someone envisions you in their future, they will defend that space. Not with aggression, but with clarity. They'll establish boundaries, not just to guard their own heart, but to honor yours. They'll make sure the connection isn't distorted by distractions, misunderstandings, or disrespect. Because to them, the relationship, or the potential of it, is not disposable. So if you ever wonder whether someone is truly attracted to you, not just in passing, but in a way that carries substance, pay attention to how they talk about time, about direction, about future plans. If you keep showing up in those plans, if they're imagining joy, peace and meaning, and you're a part of that imagery, that's not just attraction, that's vision. And vision is the foundation of something lasting. This kind of attraction isn't loud, it doesn't scream. It whispers through consistency, intention, and alignment. And when you see it clearly, you realize, this person isn't just captivated by who you are today. They're investing in who you could be together tomorrow.